Welcome again. In this video, I am going to correct the baccalaureate exam of foreign languages topic 1. Let's get started. So we are going to start with A, comprehension. This part is marked 7 points. We start with the first question. Choose the answer to complete each statement. So we have A. Athens was the first to encourage, introduce, or abandon military education. So according to the text, Athens was the first to abandon military education. B. Children were taught by A. different teachers in various places, B. the same teacher in a single place, or C. different teachers in the same place. So, children were taught by different teachers in various places. C. Teachers' main focus was on developing the child's A. personality, B. body, C. wealth. Teachers' main focus was on developing the child's personality. And finally, D. The message conveyed by poetry was A. scientific, B. moral, or C. artistic. So, the message conveyed by poetry was moral. So, this is as far as it concerns question 1. We move on to question 2. Read the text and put the following ideas in the order they appear in the text. So the first statement is C. The emergence of the first forms of schools. The second idea is A. Teachers concerned with moral education. And finally, B. The breaking of educational balance in Athens. So concerning this activity, the order of the ideas according to their appearance in the text is as follows: C, A, and B. We move on to question 3. Answer the following questions according to the text. Question A. Did political evolution in ancient Athens influence educational tendency? Justify. Yes, it did, because the educational tendency in Athens reflected that of the city itself, which was moving towards increasing democratization. So guys, the way you express the idea may differ from one student to another, but the most important thing is the essence of the idea. We move on to question B. How did poetry contribute to the education of the individual? B. Poetry contributed to the education of the individual by focusing on developing the individual personality and morality by transmitting all the traditional wisdom, including the ethic of the citizen, the ideal of the value of competition, and heroic exploit. This is as far as it concerns question B. Now finally, we move on to question C. Why was the educational balance interrupted in Athenian schools? The educational balance was interrupted in Athenian schools because of the development of professional sports, the exigencies of its specialization, and also of the strictly intellectual disciplines. This answer is actually mentioned in the last paragraph. Now we move on to question 4. Find who or what the underlined words refer to in the text. So we have that refers to education. You can include Athenian between parentheses, or you might omit them or omit it. So that refers to education, and them refers to letters and numbers. And finally, question 5 in part 1 is the type of the text. So, what is the type of the text? The text is descriptive, narrative, or argumentative. So it's a little bit challenging to find out the type of the text exactly because you might find different types in the same text. However, for me, the type of the text is narrative because the writer is narrating events took place in the past. Other teachers may argue that it's descriptive. However, for me, it's purely narrative. So we have finished Part A, comprehension. Now we move on to Part B, text exploration. This part has 7 points. The first question, find words in the text whose definitions follow. Definition A, gradual change, especially one leading to more advanced or complex form. So, this definition refers to evolution. So, what is a gradual change, especially one leading to more advanced or complex form, is actually evolution. Definition B, the ability to read and write refers to literacy. You find this word in paragraph 2. And finally, requiring the use of mental abilities refers to intellectual. You find this word in paragraph 4. We move on to question 2. Complete the chart as shown in the example. So as far as it concerns this part or this question, you might have different answers, but you are required to provide only one. We start with the noun evolution, so the verb of evolution is to evolve, whereas the adjective is evolutionary. The noun of to value, it's value, valuation, or valuer. All these answers are correct, so you are only required to provide one noun. Whereas the adjective of to value, it's either valuable or valued. We move on to the adjective different. So the verb of different is to differ or to differentiate. To differ or to differentiate. Whereas the noun of to differ and differentiate is either difference or differentiation. So this is as far as it concerns exercise or activity number 2. We move on to activity 3, grammar. So combine each pair of sentences with one of the connectors given between brackets. Make changes where necessary. We start with A. So the Athenian society moved forward. Athens renounced military-oriented education. You are required to combine sentence 1 with sentence 2 using after. So you have two possibilities. Either you say, after Athens had renounced military-oriented education, the Athenian society moved forward. So you need to conjugate the verb after into the past perfect. Or you can say, another possibility, the Athenian society moved forward after Athens had renounced military-oriented education. So both of them are correct. We move on to sentence B. The teachers were preoccupied with other subjects. The moral aspect was not neglected. So you are required to use although. So you can say, although the teachers were preoccupied with other subjects, comma, the moral aspect was not neglected. Or you can say, the moral aspect was not neglected, although the teachers were preoccupied with other subjects. So both of them are correct. We move on to question 4. Classify the following words according to the pronunciation of final ed. So the first word is renounced. So it's t, renounced. Next, privileged, privileged. Then used, used. and finally neglected. So this is as far as it concerns activity 4. We move on to the last activity in part 2, which is activity number 5. Reorder the following sentences to get a coherent passage. So the first idea that we should start with is actually idea mentioned in C. By about 100 BC, the Romans had built the most extensive educational system to that time. The next idea is A. Their system was patterned after that of ancient Athens. Then D. They adopted many Greek educational traditions. And finally, B. However, they surpassed the Greeks in some fields like agriculture, law, and engineering. So concerning this activity, the order is as follows: C, A, D, and B. Thank you very much indeed for watching this video.